In an age where magic was the measure of all things, there lived a mage of unparalleled genius. They called him Valerius, the Archmage of 1,000 spells. His power was absolute, his knowledge boundless, and his lifespan stretched across centuries. But even for one who could bend reality to his will, the relentless march of time was an enemy he could not defeat. After a long and glorious life, Valerius, the greatest mage in history, finally felt his strength wane. His body, ancient and frail, could no longer contain his immense power. With a final, weary sigh, he closed his eyes, accepting the inevitable end. But for a genius like Valerius, death was not an end, but merely a new beginning. He had long ago perfected a secret reincarnation spell, a gamble to cheat fate itself. His soul, a brilliant spark of pure magic, shot across the void, seeking a new vessel. It was a chaotic journey, a whirlwind of colors and sensations, before it finally found purchase, settling into a new, tiny body. He awoke not to the silken sheets of a noble's cradle or the hallowed halls of a magical academy, but to the coarse fabric of a commoner's blanket and the faint smell of hay. His new parents, a kind-faced farmer and his wife, beamed down at him, their hands rough from a life of hard labor. They named him Leo Valerius. The Archmage was gone. In his place was Leo, the son of a peasant. At first it was a shock. The man who once dined with kings was now being fed mashed vegetables. The hands that could once summon meteors could barely grasp a wooden toy. Frustration was his constant companion. He tried to access his magic, to feel that familiar, immense power, but there was nothing. His new body was a blank slate, with no innate magical talent. It was the ultimate irony. The greatest mage in history was now, for all intents and purposes, magically inept. But Valerius Leo was not one to despair. If he had built an empire of magic from scratch once, he could do it again. His mind, his greatest asset, was still intact. He held centuries of knowledge and understanding of mana and the fundamental laws of the universe that no one else possessed. This time, he wouldn't rely on raw talent. He would rely on pure, unadulterated knowledge. His childhood became a secret, intensive training camp. While other children played in the fields, Leo was meditating, trying to feel the faintest whisper of mana in the air. He used his father's farming tools to carve rudimentary magic circles into the dirt, practicing the basic theories he had once taught to his own apprentices. His parents simply thought he was an imaginative, if slightly odd, child. They had no idea their son was meticulously rebuilding a foundation of power that would one day shake the world. He discovered that his new body, while lacking in natural magical aptitude, was sturdy and resilient. Years of simple, healthy food and physical work in the fields gave him a stamina he'd never had in his previous life as a coddled noble. He realized this was an advantage. He could combine his physical strength with his intricate knowledge of magic to create a new, hybrid style of combat. As Leo grew, his efforts began to bear fruit. At the age of 10, he finally managed to light a small candle with a flicker of magic. It was a tiny, pathetic flame compared to the infernos he once commanded, but to Leo, it was the greatest victory of his 2 lives. It was proof. Proof that knowledge could triumph over natural talent. Proof that he was still Valerius at his core. He started small, creating minor enchantments to help with the farm work. He charmed a plow to till the fields on its own, a bucket to fetch water from the well, and seeds to sprout faster. His family's farm, once struggling, began to prosper. His parents attributed it to their son's cleverness and hard work, never suspecting the arcane secrets behind their sudden good fortune. Leo was careful, always operating in the shadows, never revealing the true extent of his abilities. He knew the world was not ready for a peasant boy who wielded magic with the precision of an archmage. His first real test came when a pack of dire wolves, driven from the mountains by a harsh winter, began preying on the village's livestock. The village guards were brave but outmatched. Panic spread like wildfire. While everyone else was hiding, Leo slipped out into the woods. He didn't have the raw power to incinerate the pack with a single spell. Instead, he used his intellect. He laid a series of intricate magical traps, using basic elemental principles he had mastered centuries ago. A simple tripwire made of enchanted vine triggered a localized gust of wind, disorienting the lead wolf. A patch of mud, subtly cooled with a touch of ice magic, became a slippery trap. He used sound-amplifying runes carved onto rocks to mimic the roars of a much larger predator, scattering the pack in confusion. He herded them, not with force, but with cunning, leading them into a natural ravine from which they couldn't escape. When the village guards finally tracked them down, they found the entire pack trapped, looking more confused than ferocious. They hailed the guards as heroes, never knowing a young boy had orchestrated the entire event from the shadows. This incident solidified Leo's resolve. He didn't need overwhelming power. He had something far better: experience. He knew how to analyze a situation, exploit weaknesses, and achieve his goals with maximum efficiency and minimum effort. His new life wasn't a downgrade. It was an opportunity to perfect his art from a new perspective. When the time came for the Royal Magic Academy's entrance exam, a once-in-a-decade event open to all, Regardless of status, Leo knew it was his chance to re-enter the world of magic. He traveled to the capital, a simple village boy among a sea of young nobles in fine robes, all brimming with innate magical talent. They scoffed at his plain clothes and his lack of a fancy staff. The exam was divided into two parts, a test of raw magical power and a test of theoretical knowledge. In the power test, the nobles unleashed impressive displays of fire, ice, and lightning, shattering crystal targets with ease. When Leo's turn came, he simply walked up to the crystal and placed his hand on it. He channeled a tiny, precise thread of mana, not to shatter it, but to find its resonant frequency. With a gentle push of energy, he exploited the crystal's internal stress points, and it crumbled into fine dust. The examiners were stunned. It was a feat of control so sublime, so ridiculously advanced, that they didn't know how to score it. It was like watching someone dismantle a castle brick by brick instead of blowing it up. The theoretical exam was where Leo truly shone. The questions, which stumped even the most well-read noble children, were child's play to him. They were asking about principles he had personally discovered and theories he had written. He didn't just answer the questions, he corrected them, pointing out flaws in the established theories and proposing more elegant solutions. He finished the exam in a fraction of the allotted time, leaving the proctor speechless, poring over his scroll as if it were a sacred text. Leo, the peasant boy with seemingly little raw power, had achieved the highest score in the academy's history. His acceptance was a scandal and a sensation. The nobles were outraged, the commoners were inspired, and the teachers were bewildered. They had on their hands a student who knew more than they did. His life at the academy was a constant battle against prejudice. He was an outsider, a commoner who had somehow cheated his way in. But Leo paid them no mind. He was not there to make friends. He was there to access the academy's vast library and its advanced resources. He devoured knowledge, relearning everything from this new perspective, combining his old wisdom with new discoveries. He found that magic had evolved in the centuries since his death, and he absorbed these new styles with the hunger of a true scholar. He would often be challenged to duels by arrogant nobles wanting to put the peasant genius in his place. They would come at him with flashy, powerful spells, but Leo would calmly dismantle their attacks with simple, perfectly executed counterspells. He'd redirect their fireballs, nullify their barriers, and trip them up with a cleverly placed earth spell. He never won with overwhelming force but with infuriating precision, making his opponents look like clumsy amateurs. His journey was far from over. He was no longer Valerius, the celebrated archmage. He was Leo, the commoner who had to earn every ounce of respect and prove his worth at every turn. But within him burned the soul of a genius, a spirit that had tasted the pinnacle of power and was now climbing the mountain once more, not by a privileged lift, but by carving his own path with his own two hands. And this time, he knew the journey to the top would be far more rewarding. The world had forgotten its greatest mage, but it was about to meet a new kind of legend, one forged not in a palace, but in a humble farmer's field. Thank you so much for watching. It's incredible to think about how knowledge and experience can be even more powerful than raw talent. If you enjoyed Leo's story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing tales. We'll see you in the next video.